Imagine being part of a professional marine rescue team, surrounded by experienced divers and marine biologists, all working desperately to save a massive humpback whale trapped in fishing nets. You've trained for years, you know the protocols, you understand whale behavior. But this 40-ton giant is thrashing, panicking, rejecting every attempt to help, pushing away every rescuer who approaches, her distress escalating with each failed intervention. Then someone unexpected enters the water, a woman who isn't part of the official team, who has no formal training in whale rescue, who simply couldn't stand watching from the boat any longer. And in a moment that will challenge everything, marine biologists thought they understood about cetacean cognition and cross-species communication. This terrified whale stops thrashing, turns toward this one woman, makes direct eye contact, and becomes completely calm, allowing her touch, following her movements, trusting her instantly in ways she had refused to trust the trained professionals who'd been trying to help for hours. This is the story of a choice that defied logic, a bond that formed in seconds, and a rescue that would prove that sometimes connection transcends credentials, expertise, and everything we think we know about how trust is earned. Hey, incredible community! Before we dive into this absolutely profound and emotional journey, drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing our Animal Hero Moments family spanning every corner of our beautiful planet. And if stories about the mysterious bonds between species, the moments when animals choose specific humans for reasons we can't explain, and the power of trust that happens in an instant, move you as deeply as they move me, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Every single subscriber helps us share these powerful moments that prove consciousness, choice, and connection exist in forms that science is only beginning to understand. Stay until the very end. This journey will transform how you see intelligence, intuition, and the invisible threads that sometimes connect two beings who were meant to find each other. It was October 2011, off the coast of Baja California, Mexico, in the rich Pacific waters near the fishing village of San Ignacio, an area renowned as one of the world's premier gray whale breeding lagoons and a critical feeding ground for migrating humpback whales traveling between Alaska and Central America. A commercial fishing vessel had reported a humpback whale in severe distress, entangled in what appeared to be abandoned gill nets and crab pot lines, the deadly ghost gear that kills an estimated 300,000 whales, dolphins and porpoises globally each year. The Marine Mammal Center's emergency response team, based in Sausalito, California, had been alerted and dispatched a specialized crew including lead rescuer James Mosquito, marine biologist Dr. Francis Gulland, and 4 experienced volunteer divers trained specifically in large cetacean disentanglement, a dangerous, technically demanding operation that requires understanding whale behavior, ocean conditions, and the constant risk of a panicking 40-ton animal accidentally killing rescuers with a thrash of its tail or flippers. The team arrived on site within 3 hours of the initial report, finding a scene far more desperate than anticipated. The humpback whale, an adult female estimated at 45-50 feet in length and weighing approximately 40 tons, was wrapped in over 200 feet of heavy fishing line, with ropes cutting deeply into her pectoral fins, tail fluke, and mouth, the latter preventing her from feeding and likely causing excruciating pain with every movement. She had been trapped for an estimated 24-48 hours based on the depth of the rope wounds and her visible exhaustion from fighting the entanglement. Time was critical. Entangled whales often die from starvation, drowning when unable to surface properly for air, or from infections in deep rope wounds that sever arteries or cause sepsis. Humpback whales are among the most intelligent and socially complex marine mammals, possessing brains that weigh 15 pounds and contain specialized spindle neurons associated with complex emotions, social processing, and self-awareness, the same neurons found in great apes, elephants, and humans. They communicate through elaborate songs that can travel hundreds of miles underwater, demonstrate cultural transmission of knowledge across generations, and show evidence of altruistic behavior, including defending other species from predators. But they are also wild, powerful, and when terrified or in pain, extraordinarily dangerous to approach. The rescue protocol for entangled whales involves careful approach in small inflatable boats, assessment of the entanglement's severity and access points, and then the delicate, dangerous work of cutting away ropes and netting while the whale is conscious and potentially thrashing. Sedation isn't an option. Cetaceans are voluntary breathers who would drown if unconscious. The entire operation depends on the whale remaining calm enough that rescuers can work safely, and calm enough that the whale doesn't exhaust herself fighting restraints, which can trigger fatal stress cardiomyopathy, essentially dying from panic. James Mosquito's team made their first approach attempt around 2:00 p.m., with 2 divers entering the water with specialized cutting tools designed to slice through heavy rope without risking injury to the whale's sensitive skin. But the moment the divers came within 20 feet, the whale's response was immediate and violent, thrashing, diving, surfacing explosively, her massive tail flukes crashing down with enough force to create waves that rocked the rescue boats. She was terrified, in pain, and interpreting every approach as an additional threat rather than help. Over the next 4 hours, the team attempted multiple approaches using different techniques. Approaching from various angles, having single divers versus pairs, using long-handled cutting tools to work from greater distance, even trying to habituate the whale to their presence by simply floating nearby without immediate intervention. Nothing worked. Each attempt triggered the same panic response, and with each thrashing episode, the whale was burning precious energy she didn't have, tightening the ropes deeper into her flesh, and moving closer to the point of no return, where exhaustion and injury would make survival impossible, even if they managed to free her. By 6:00 p.m., as the sun began setting over the Pacific and the team faced the reality that they might have to abandon the rescue until the whale was weak enough to approach safely, which likely meant she'd be too weak to survive, there was one additional person on the support boat who had been watching the entire agonizing process unfold, a woman named Rachel Thompson, a marine biology graduate student from UC Santa Barbara, who had been conducting unrelated research in the area and had joined the rescue boat as an observer, with strict instructions to remain on board and not interfere with the professional rescue operation. Rachel had spent 4 hours watching this magnificent creature fight for her life, watching the rescue team's increasingly desperate attempts, watching the whale's energy visibly declining, and feeling something she would later struggle to articulate: a pull, an urgency, an absolute certainty that she needed to be in the water with this whale. It wasn't rational. It wasn't based on training or expertise she didn't possess. It was simply an overwhelming internal knowing that refused to be ignored. At 6:15 p.m., as the team was conferring about whether to attempt one more approach before losing daylight, Rachel did something that violated every protocol and instruction she'd been given. She put on a wetsuit, grabbed a snorkel and mask from the boat's equipment locker, and before anyone could stop her, slipped quietly into the water approximately 40 yards from where the whale was floating, exhausted, at the surface. James Mosquito's reaction was immediate fury mixed with terror. An untrained civilian in the water with a panicking whale was exactly the scenario that could turn a difficult rescue into a fatal tragedy. He began shouting for Rachel to return to the boat immediately, the entire team mobilizing to retrieve her before the whale noticed her presence. But what happened next would be captured on video by Dr. Gulland and would become one of the most analyzed pieces of footage in marine mammal behavioral science. The whale, who had been violently rejecting every approach for hours, turned her massive head toward Rachel. And instead of the explosive panic response she'd shown to trained rescuers, she became utterly still. For approximately 15 seconds, an eternity in this crisis context, the whale and Rachel simply looked at each other, separated by perhaps 30 feet of open water, two beings from entirely different worlds, locked in what every observer would later describe as direct, intentional eye contact. Then the whale did something that veteran marine mammal rescuers present would say they'd never witnessed in decades of cetacean work. She began swimming slowly, deliberately toward Rachel, not with the aggressive approach of a threatened animal, but with what appeared to be intentional, controlled movement. She closed the distance to approximately 10 feet and stopped, her massive eye, the size of a grapefruit, containing sophisticated vision comparable to human acuity, fixed on Rachel's face with an intensity that felt like communication, like assessment, like a question being asked across species boundaries. Can you help me? Will you help me? Rachel, operating entirely on instinct rather than training, began speaking to the whale. Soft, reassuring sounds that the whale couldn't understand, linguistically but might understand tonally. I see you, I know you're scared, I'm going to help you, I promise I'm going to help you. She extended one hand toward the whale, not touching yet, just offering contact, letting this massive being decide whether to accept or reject the gesture. The whale moved forward slightly, bringing her head close enough that Rachel could have touched her scarred, rope-cut skin. And in a moment that would be replayed millions of times across social media, analyzed in academic papers, and cited in discussions about animal consciousness and emotion, the whale gently pressed her rostrum, the top of her head, against Rachel's outstretched palm. It was deliberate, it was gentle, it was unmistakable communication. Yes, you, I choose you. The rescue team, watching from boats, was stunned into silence. James Mosquito would later say in interviews, "In 30 years of marine mammal rescue, I've never seen anything remotely like it." This whale had rejected every trained professional approach. But this grad student with no rescue experience gets in the water, and the whale immediately trusts her, seeks her out, initiates contact. There's no protocol for this. There's no explanation in our behavioral models. It was like the whale recognized something in Rachel that we couldn't see. Dr. Gulland, filming continuously, captured the next crucial moments. Rachel, moving slowly, began examining the entanglement while maintaining physical contact with the whale, one hand always touching the animal's skin, murmuring constant reassurance. The whale remained calm, occasionally vocalizing, low-frequency sounds that hydrophones later revealed were in the range humpbacks use for close-range social communication, not distress calls. She was incredibly communicating with Rachel, responding to her presence and touch. Rachel called out to the rescue boat, "I need cutting tools. She's letting me touch her. She's calm. I think she'll let me help her." James faced an impossible decision. Allow an untrained civilian to attempt a dangerous technical rescue, or insist on proper protocol and risk the whale's renewed panic when professionals approached. He chose to trust what he was witnessing over what his training dictated. He passed Rachel a specialized rope cutter on an extended pole, along with rapid verbal instructions on where to cut safely without risking the whale's arteries or Rachel's safety if the whale suddenly moved. What followed was a rescue operation unlike any in marine mammal intervention history. A graduate student with no formal rescue training, working in open ocean as daylight faded, cutting away over 200 feet of heavy fishing line from a 40-ton whale who remained calm and cooperative only because of one woman's presence and touch. Rachel worked for nearly 90 minutes, methodically cutting through layer after layer of entanglement, her hands cramping from the effort, her legs exhausted from treading water, but never breaking physical contact with the whale for more than a few seconds. The whale's cooperation was extraordinary and unprecedented. When Rachel needed to cut ropes wrapped around the whale's tail fluke, requiring the whale to remain still with her most powerful weapon vulnerable, the whale complied, floating motionless even as Rachel soared through thick rope embedded in flesh. When Rachel needed to access entanglement near the whale's mouth, requiring her to position herself near those massive jaws, the whale opened her mouth slightly, allowing better access, never showing aggression or panic, despite the pain of ropes being pulled from deep wounds. Several times during the operation, the whale vocalized, sounds that Rachel felt as vibrations through the water as much as heard. Marine acoustics experts analyzing the recordings later identified these vocalizations as similar to mother-calf contact calls, suggesting the whale might have been seeking or offering reassurance, maintaining connection during a stressful process. Rachel responded each time by pausing her work, maintaining contact, speaking softly, creating a rhythm of work and reassurance that seemed to calm both of them. The rescue team remained in support positions, ready to intervene if the situation deteriorated, but increasingly recognizing they were witnessing something beyond normal rescue protocol. A relationship forming in real time between two beings who had found in each other exactly what was needed in that moment. Dr. Gulland later wrote in her incident report, "Standard marine mammal rescue involves mechanical intervention, cutting ropes, providing medical treatment, then leaving the animal to recover independently. What we observed was relational intervention, a human and whale working together, communicating, trusting, solving a problem collaboratively. I have no framework in my 25 years of marine mammal medicine to categorize what we witnessed. As Rachel cut through the final rope, a thick line that had been wrapped around the whale's left pectoral fin, cutting circulation and likely causing intense pain, the whale's response was immediate and dramatic. Free for the first time in days, she could have bolted, fleeing the humans and the trauma of her entanglement. Instead, she remained with Rachel, floating calmly beside her, occasionally touching Rachel with her fin, her tail, her massive head, as if confirming the human was still there, still safe, still present. Then came the moment that would be shared across every major media outlet globally within 24 hours. The whale began swimming in circles around Rachel, slow, deliberate loops that brought her massive body into gentle contact with the small human floating at the surface. She was unmistakably expressing something: joy, relief, gratitude, connection. Marine biologists studying the footage identified the behavior as similar to play bows or celebration breaches that whales perform after successful hunts or during social bonding, but adapted for interaction with a human who couldn't match the whale's swimming ability. Rachel, exhausted and overwhelmed, began crying, her tears mixing with seawater, her hands resting on the whale's skin as this magnificent being circled her again and again. "Thank you," Rachel whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was thanking the whale or being thanked. "You're free. You're going to be okay. You're free." After approximately 10 minutes of this circling behavior, the whale paused directly in front of Rachel one final time, made eye contact that lasted several seconds, vocalized, a sound that seemed to resonate through Rachel's entire body, and then, with powerful strokes of her now free tail, dove beneath the surface and disappeared into the darkening ocean. The rescue team erupted in cheers and tears, pulling Rachel back aboard where she collapsed, shaking with exhaustion and emotion, unable to articulate what had just happened, but knowing it had changed her fundamentally. The immediate aftermath involved medical assessment of Rachel, hypothermic, exhausted but uninjured, and documentation of the rescue for official Marine Mammal Center records. But the questions everyone was asking couldn't be answered by protocols or reports. Why had this whale rejected trained professionals but trusted Rachel instantly? What had the whale recognized in her that experienced rescuers lacked? How had an untrained graduate student managed a technical rescue that should have required years of specialized knowledge? James Mosquito, his initial anger at Rachel's protocol violation transformed into awed respect, admitted, "By every professional standard, What happened today shouldn't have worked. An untrained person entering the water with a panicking entangled whale should have resulted in injury or death. Hers, the whale's, or both. Instead, we witnessed the most peaceful, successful cetacean rescue I've ever seen, accomplished by someone operating entirely on intuition and connection rather than training and technique. It challenges everything I thought I knew about how rescue work functions. The immediate media response to video footage of the rescue was explosive. Within 48 hours, Rachel's story had been covered by CNN, BBC, National Geographic, and hundreds of other outlets globally. The footage of the whale circling Rachel, the obvious trust and cooperation, and the emotional intensity of the moment resonated with millions of viewers who saw in it something profound about connection, trust, and the intelligence of beings we share the planet with, but rarely truly encounter. Rachel, suddenly thrust into global attention she hadn't sought, struggled with the narrative that was forming around her. Media coverage often framed her as the whale whisperer, or described her as having special abilities to communicate with marine mammals. But Rachel herself, in every interview, was insistent. "I'm not special. I don't have magical powers. I was just present, open, maybe desperate enough to trust my instinct rather than my fear. The whale is the one who chose to trust, who overcame her terror to accept help. She's the extraordinary one, not me." Dr. Gulland, analyzing the rescue from a scientific perspective, offered a more nuanced interpretation in a paper published in Marine Mammal Science titled "Unprecedented Cooperative Behavior in Humpback Whale Rescue, Individual Recognition or Broader Social Cognition." Her analysis suggested multiple possible explanations. The whale might have distinguished Rachel's different approach, slower, gentler, less mechanical, and responded to that difference. The whale might have been at a point of exhaustion where she would have accepted help from anyone, with Rachel simply being the first person she encountered in that state. Or most intriguingly, the whale might have demonstrated individual human recognition and preference based on criteria we don't yet understand. The broader scientific community split into camps. Some researchers dismissed the anthropomorphic interpretation, arguing that the whale's behavior could be explained through stress response, exhaustion, or random variation in individual temperament. Others, including prominent cetacean cognition researchers, saw in the footage clear evidence of sophisticated social intelligence. The whale assessing multiple potential helpers, rejecting those whose approach felt threatening, and selecting one who felt safe based on subtle behavioral or energetic cues. Rachel herself returned to her graduate studies, now with a research focus shifted entirely by her experience. Her dissertation would examine individual variation in human cetacean interactions, specifically investigating whether whales demonstrate preferences for certain human individuals, and if so, what criteria they use to make those distinctions. Her research, conducted over the following years, would provide fascinating data. In controlled observation of whale-watching interactions, some whales consistently approached certain boats or individuals while avoiding others, suggesting genuine discrimination rather than random approach patterns. But Rachel also experienced something she didn't initially disclose publicly: recurrent dreams of the whale, sensations of being in the ocean, and an overwhelming pull to return to that exact location off Baja California. In conversations with other people who'd had significant whale encounters, she discovered this was a common experience, a lasting psychological and emotional impact that felt like an unbreakable thread connecting them to the whale they'd met, even years after the encounter. In 2013, 2 years after the rescue, Rachel returned to the same area off San Ignacio as part of a research expedition studying gray whale behavior. She had no expectation of encountering the humpback whale she'd freed. Humpbacks range across thousands of miles of ocean, and individual re-encounter odds are statistically negligible. But on the third day of the expedition, while conducting observations from a small boat, a humpback whale surfaced approximately 50 yards away and began swimming directly toward Rachel's boat with what observers described as purposeful movement. As the whale approached, Rachel noticed distinctive scarring patterns on the whale's left pectoral fin, old rope wounds that had healed into permanent marks matching the entanglement pattern from the 2011 rescue. "It's her," Rachel said to her research partner, her voice shaking. "I know it's her." The whale came alongside the boat, rolled onto her side in the water, and made eye contact with Rachel for approximately 30 seconds before vocalizing, a sound that Rachel later described as recognition, greeting, like she was saying hello to an old friend. Dr. Ted Cheeseman, who maintains the global photo identification database for humpback whales, happywhale.com, confirmed through photo matching software that the whale Rachel encountered in 2013 was indeed the same individual freed in 2011, identified through unique markings on her tail fluke and body scarring. The probability of random re-encounter at that distance from the original rescue site, in an ocean where this whale could range across thousands of miles, was infinitesimal, suggesting the whale had either remained in the area specifically or had actively returned to it, possibly seeking the human who had helped her. The 2013 encounter lasted approximately 15 minutes, with the whale remaining near the boat, surfacing repeatedly near Rachel's position, and displaying what whale behavior experts identify as friendly or affiliative approach behaviors: slow approach, eye contact, gentle physical contact with the boat. Then, as she had 2 years earlier, the whale vocalized one final time, dove beneath the surface, and departed. Rachel sat in the boat crying, overwhelmed by the realization that this whale had remembered her, had recognized her, had chosen to approach again across 2 years and thousands of miles of ocean. The scientific documentation of Rachel's 2013 re-encounter with the whale transformed the narrative from a singular rescue story into evidence of long-term memory and individual recognition in humpback whales. Dr. Hal Whitehead, studying whale social cognition at Dalhousie University, used Rachel's case in his research on cetacean memory and social bonds. This whale demonstrated not just memory of a traumatic event, but memory of the specific individual who helped her, maintained across 2 years, and whatever distance separated them. That's sophisticated social cognition comparable to elephants, great apes, and humans. Educational institutions incorporated Rachel's story into marine biology, animal cognition, and even psychology curricula. The case became a teaching tool for discussions about animal consciousness, the ethics of human-wildlife interaction, and the question of whether rescue interventions create lasting psychological impacts on the animals involved. Students wrote papers analyzing the rescue from perspectives ranging from behavioral neuroscience to philosophy of mind to conservation ethics. The whale watching industry, particularly in areas frequented by humpback whales, began training guides to recognize that whales might distinguish between individual humans and that respectful, calm presence might be more effective than mechanical approach for positive whale interactions. Companies started emphasizing presence-based whale watching, sitting quietly and allowing whales to approach if they choose, rather than aggressively pursuing whales for tourist photographs. Conservation organizations leveraged Rachel's story in campaigns against ghost fishing gear, the abandoned or lost commercial fishing equipment that entangles hundreds of thousands of marine animals annually. The image of the scarred whale choosing to trust Rachel became the face of the Clean Seas initiative, raising over $3 million for ghost gear removal programs across global fishing grounds. Volunteers removed thousands of abandoned nets, saving countless animals from the fate Rachel's whale had barely survived. The psychological impact on Rachel herself continued to deepen over time. She described feeling a sense of responsibility to honor the whale's trust by dedicating her career to cetacean conservation and welfare. Her dissertation research evolved into a broader career, studying human-whale interactions, whale cognition, and the emerging field of marine animal personality research, investigating whether individual whales have consistent behavioral traits that shape how they interact with both other whales and humans. Rachel's experience also sparked intense interest in the role of intuition and nonverbal communication in animal rescue and rehabilitation. Wildlife rehabilitation centers began training volunteers not just in technical skills, but in reading animals, trusting instinct, and recognizing that sometimes connection matters more than credentials. Several programs incorporated meditation, mindfulness, and emotional regulation training for rescuers, acknowledging that the rescuer's internal state might affect how distressed animals respond to them. The philosophical implications of Rachel's case reached beyond marine biology into broader discussions about consciousness, interspecies relationships, and the nature of trust. Philosophers of mind use the case to argue that if a whale can distinguish between individual humans, assess their intentions or energy, and choose to trust one over others based on criteria invisible to human observers, then whales possess sophisticated theory of mind and social intelligence that demands ethical consideration in how we treat them. The case influenced policy discussions about marine mammal protection, with advocates arguing that if whales demonstrate this level of individual consciousness and emotional capacity, then practices like commercial whaling, captivity for entertainment, and ocean noise pollution should be reconsidered from an animal rights perspective, not just a conservation perspective. Several countries cited growing evidence of cetacean cognition, including Rachel's documented case, in strengthening marine mammal protection laws. Rachel became a sought-after speaker at marine conservation conferences, though she remained uncomfortable with the whale whisperer framing. "What happened wasn't about me having special powers," she emphasized in every talk. "It was about that whale making a choice, exercising agency, demonstrating intelligence and social cognition that our scientific models have only begun to acknowledge. I was just the person who was available to be chosen." The extraordinary being in this story is the whale. Her intelligence, her courage to trust after trauma, her memory across years. We should be asking not, how did Rachel do this? But what does this whale's behavior reveal about who whales are? The research papers that emerged from Rachel's case examined multiple dimensions of whale cognition: individual human recognition, long-term social memory, assessment of human intentions or emotional states, and cooperative problem-solving across species boundaries. Each paper added to the growing body of evidence that cetaceans possess cognitive and emotional sophistication, rivaling or exceeding that of terrestrial mammals we recognize as highly intelligent, but expressed in forms adapted to oceanic life and shaped by evolutionary pressures we're only beginning to understand. In 2015, 4 years after the original rescue, Rachel received an email from a whale-watching company operating near Tonga, a South Pacific nation that serves as a crucial humpback whale breeding ground. The email included photographs of a humpback whale with distinctive scarring on her left pectoral fin, asking if Rachel could confirm whether this might be the whale from her 2011 rescue. Photo identification analysis confirmed it. The same whale, now documented over 5,000 miles from the original rescue location, demonstrating the massive range humpback whales travel during annual migration between feeding and breeding grounds. The company reported that this particular whale had become known to guides as unusually calm around boats, occasionally approaching vessels and making extended eye contact with passengers. behavior uncommon enough to be notable, but not unheard of among Tongan humpbacks. Reading this, Rachel felt a mixture of joy and ache. Joy that the whale had survived, had migrated successfully, was apparently healthy enough to make the massive journey to breeding grounds. Ache that they were separated by thousands of miles and that another encounter seemed impossible given Rachel's limited research funding and time. But in 2016, Rachel received a research grant to study mother-calf bonding in Tongan humpback whales, providing funding for a 3-month field season in the exact waters where her whale had been photographed. She arrived in Tonga in August with scientific objectives and equipment, but also with a hope she barely allowed herself to acknowledge, that maybe, against all probability, she might encounter her whale one more time. On the morning of September 12, 2016, 5 years and 11 months after the original rescue, Rachel was in the water conducting mother-calf behavioral observations when she felt, rather than heard, a presence behind her. She turned to find a massive humpback whale floating approximately 20 feet away, looking directly at her with scarring on her left pectoral fin that Rachel recognized instantly. The whale had found her again in a different ocean years later, among thousands of whales and hundreds of humans who pass through these waters annually. What happened next was captured on underwater camera by Rachel's research assistant. The whale swam slowly toward Rachel and began the same circling behavior she'd performed after being freed in 2011. Gentle, deliberate loops that brought her massive body into contact with Rachel, accompanied by vocalizations that Rachel felt as vibrations through the water. The whale remained with Rachel for over 30 minutes, swimming when Rachel swam, floating when Rachel floated, maintaining proximity that defied coincidence and could only be interpreted as intentional, chosen companionship. Rachel later described the encounter in her research journal. "I have no scientific framework to explain what I felt. Recognition, yes. Connection, absolutely. But something more, like she'd been looking for me, like finding me mattered to her, like she wanted me to know she remembered, she was okay, she was grateful." I know how that sounds. I know how anthropomorphic and unscientific it is. But I also know what I felt, what I witnessed, and I refuse to diminish the truth of that experience just because our current scientific language doesn't have adequate terms for it. The 2016 encounter, documented with video and photo evidence, provided additional data for researchers studying whale memory and social cognition. Dr. Whitehead published a follow-up paper titled "5-Year Cross-Ocean Individual Recognition in Humpback Whales: Implications for Social Memory and Cross-Species Bonding," using Rachel's case alongside other documented examples of long-term whale memory. The paper concluded, "The evidence suggests humpback whales maintain social memories comparable in duration and specificity to elephants and great apes, and that these memories can include individual humans encountered in significant contexts. This has profound implications for how we understand whale psychology and the ethical weight of our interactions with them." Rachel's story became the subject of a feature-length documentary in 2018 titled "The Whale Who Chose," following her journey from the initial rescue through the subsequent re-encounters and her research into whale cognition. The film won multiple Environmental Film Festival awards and reached audiences far beyond the marine biology community, sparking conversations about animal intelligence, the nature of interspecies relationships, and the question of what we owe to beings who demonstrate clear evidence of consciousness, memory, and emotional capacity. When asked in the documentary what she hoped people would take from her experience, Rachel's answer captured both the wonder and the ethical complexity of her relationship with the whale. "I hope they'll understand that the whales we see as distant, alien, fundamentally different from us are actually individuals with memories, preferences, relationships, and inner lives as rich as ours. That whale remembered me across 5 years and thousands of miles. She chose to seek me out, to spend time with me, to communicate something I felt, even if I couldn't translate it into words. If she can do that, if she can hold that kind of memory and intention, what does that mean about every whale we hunt, every whale we disturb with ship traffic, every whale we impact with our use of the oceans? They're not just populations to manage, they're persons, different from us, but no less real in their experience of the world. The whale was last photographed in 2019 near Alaska, identified through her distinctive scarring and documented as part of a healthy feeding aggregation. Rachel has not encountered her again, though she continues her research in multiple whale habitats, always wondering if each humpback she sees might be the one who changed her life by choosing to trust her when trust should have been impossible. The story remains open-ended, as real relationships are, not with neat narrative closure, but with ongoing presence in memory, ongoing influence on life choices, ongoing proof that some bonds once formed are never really broken. Today, Rachel Thompson directs the Marine Mammal Cognition Lab at UC Santa Barbara, her entire career trajectory shaped by those moments in October 2011 when a distressed whale rejected every trained rescuer and chose to trust one woman instantly. The whale who made that choice continues to swim somewhere in the vast Pacific, carrying rope scars on her fin that mark both trauma and survival, both the cruelty of fishing gear and the kindness of human hands that freed her. Their story has been viewed by millions, studied by scientists, and cited in policy debates about marine mammal protection, proving that one encounter between beings from different worlds can ripple outward in ways we never predict. But beyond the science, beyond the conservation impact, beyond the media attention, what remains is the irreducible truth of that moment. A terrified whale looked into Rachel's eyes and chose to trust when every instinct should have screamed to flee. We can analyze the behavior, debate the mechanisms, study the cognition, but we can't diminish the profound reality that this whale made a choice, recognized something in Rachel that experienced rescuers lacked, and maintained memory of that connection across years and oceans. That's not just interesting animal behavior, that's consciousness, discernment, and a form of love that exists in beings we've barely begun to understand. If you take one truth from this journey, let it be this: the whales sharing our oceans aren't alien creatures beyond understanding. They're individuals capable of recognition, memory, choice, and connection. That whale rejected every rescuer except Rachel, not randomly but deliberately, seeing something we couldn't see, trusting what her instinct or intelligence told her to trust. And years later, across thousands of miles, she sought Rachel out again, because some bonds aren't broken by distance or time. They taught each other that trust is possible even after trauma, that connection can happen in seconds, and that sometimes two beings from different worlds choose each other for reasons that transcend explanation. May we honor what she taught us. May we protect the oceans she calls home. And may we never forget that when we look into a whale's eye, we're not seeing simple animal behavior. We're seeing a person looking back,